Yeah, so we are live. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining in on today's session. 1 second, let me just confirm that we are live. In 2 seconds, I think we are live. All right. So, hi, everyone. My name is Ifan Inwoke. I'm the co-founder for Customer Success Africa. If you're just joining us for the very first time, Customer Success Africa is a community of customer success professionals where we talk about everything customer success and how you can learn every bit of it from, like the service level, entry level, mid level, advanced level, and, you can learn everything that you need to grow and develop your career in the field of customer success. And we usually like have demo sessions, live sessions, and webinar sessions where we speak to founders, top leaders within the CS space where we get feedback, get insight in terms of how people and different folks, leverage customer success as a growth engine for companies. And today we're going to be talking more on the aspect of product innovation, talking about feedback. We have a special guest on our today's our CEO's edition for today's event in person of Niyi Adegboye, co-founder for Preamble. Preamble is more like an identity platform that helps companies handle everything that has to do with identity verification and making sure that they have seamless KYC process for their business. Hi, Niyi, I'll allow you to do your introduction and we can get straight into the conversation.
Right. Thank you so much, Ify, and thanks for having me. Thanks for organizing this. Yeah, quick intro. Niyi Adegboye, co-founder of Preamble. So Preamble started way back about 4 years now, as it is, at least in terms of commercials, but a lot of work started way before then. And we're basically a compliance and identity data infrastructure. We help businesses to conduct KYC, right, and comply with necessary regulatory compliance in any jurisdiction, but focusing more on Africa. There are a lot of line of products that we have, but I think I'll leave that for anyone to visit our website, right, and pick up some one or two things from there. So thanks, Ify, for having me.
Great. Thanks for the introduction, Lee. So one of the reasons why we decided to go for you decided to approach you or reach out to you regarding this session is because of your profile, your background. Given the fact that you've worked in customer success, you've worked in product growth, operations, strategy. Like, how do you is it? Did you do all of this in different roles, or was it like a combination of responsibilities? Can you just give us some insight around that?
Okay, so I'll say it's different roles, and some happens to be within the same organization, while some happens to be outside, or I'll say in another organization. Way back, I think I started more as a software developer, right, and then from there transitioned into project management, and then from there did a bit of sales, right, but there's a vacuum for customer support, right? Way back, this is like 2000 and I said 2012 kind of a thing. Customer success wasn't a thing there. I think then it's called customer support, right? Kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But literally, just they ensure that you attend to customers, right? And the good part is it's quite different from the regular what we know as customer support, right? What we know then is a customer support in the bank, you're the one that answers the phone and all this kind of thing. But really, for a tech company, right, you're doing beyond just answering phones, right?
Yeah.
As it is. And I think being in that space basically opened my eyes to a lot of things because firstly, you need to understand the product, you need to understand how to sell, right? Because we're talking about cross-selling and upselling, right? You need to be able to relate with people, just helping them to solve problems. And I think over time I moved right away from that position to business and strategy, partnership, growth. And yeah, here we are building primarily. So I think all those experiences is more like pick here,
Yeah.
and then now forms Niyi, right? Is able to build a company. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing. So I think that your role has given you more, has given you that ability to look at things from different perspective. When you talk about growth, let's say growth from within the product, right? We know that there's this saying that you have to look at it from inside out, right?
Yeah.
How are you guys, how you guys, steering the wheel, and how you like leveraging feedback, customers' feedback to improve the product and to attract more customers. I was listening to a podcast last week from a founder, and he was saying that one of the most important things that a company needs to do is to listen to users, and then use whatever they tell you in terms of what they like and what they don't like to build the product. What do you think about it? Like, do you think that is something that a lot of organizations, particularly within the African space, do, or do you think that it's more of their own mindset towards how they want the product to look like?
Okay, so I'll say it's a mix, right, of things. And firstly, for anybody who is solving a problem, so that the problem you're solving is something that you experienced firsthand, right? Or maybe someone close to you, or by chance you stumbled on it, right? And then you you just feel like no one is solving this problem, right? The best way. And then you start solving it. So in this case, I would say you are like the first customer, right? Because you have the experience. And then from there, you now start moving up to other people. And I would say that firstly, your first customers will be like your true customers, right? Because they are the, in quote, I'll use the word scapegoat or
Yeah,
guinea pig, right, for your product. And these are the points when your product is still, permit me to we use the word shitty, right, as it is.
yeah,
It's not fully built, right? And then these guys are literally telling you, "Oh, this button is not supposed to be here." Or they've used a similar product for one reason. Yours is just one particular feature, right, stood out for them. And they start giving you feedback, right, as it is. So I would say feedback is very, very, very important. Anywhere you go to, you always hear the phrase "talk to your customers," right? Talk to your customers, and talking to your customers can come in two forms, right? Can be, guys, this is what we have. How are you enjoying it, right? What are the problems, right, that you're facing, as it is, and it can also be from another point of what other problem are you facing that we are not solving. Okay, so it can be one to improve the current solution, right, that you've built, and secondly, it can also point you to the right direction, right, on what next are we supposed to build. So anybody who is building anything today, I would say customer is the center of everything, right? If there's no customer, then you're just building for yourself and maybe your family, and you can't scale, right, using that.
great. So yeah, I quite agree with you in terms of the focus on the customer. But you and I know that while feedback is a gift, not all feedback are very important, right? So
Yeah.
how do you, from your own experience, how do you like prioritize what you need to pay pay attention to and what you need to deprioritize? Like, how do you like, so from the
Mm.
when you engage customers, like how do you look at it in terms of the feedback that gets to the internal teams?
Okay, so well, again, there's always another phrase that says customers don't know what they want, right? I'm sure you've ever heard that. Or
Mm,
there are a lot of requests because if you are building a product that has multiple inputs, right?
yeah.
What you'll find out is that there's a way everybody sort of handles their processes. Okay, so company A's process is different from companies B. Okay, and then your solution might not be able to address everybody. So there's an element of customization, right? That's going to come in. And I think earlier, in my journey, my first startup, which is an ed tech, basically we faced this problem, right, of having too many feedbacks as it is. And the reason is because every school that we go to, we customize something for them. Okay. And then what you see is, oh, my report template is I do assessment of 20, right? Exam of 80. Another person will say I do 20, 20, 60. Another person will say I do 10, 10. So there's a lot of customization, right, that needs to come in. And the fact that there are multiple stakeholders, right, in this thing, and multiple stakeholders are basically guys that are using your solution, right? Because sometimes you can develop a product where you have different people within the organization that's going to be using it. And sometimes you might be lucky enough to just build one, there's only one person that's going to be using it, right? So you know that your feedback is coming just from one person. But a situation where you have multiple users, and in this case, I will use the EdTech product. So there's a component that speaks to the class teacher. There's a component that speaks to the ed teacher, right? There's a component that speaks to the accountant. There's a component that speaks to the principal at the end of the day. So imagine getting feedback from everybody, right? And in this case, every school that you go to, everybody have different feedbacks. So the first thing is to look at, bring all the feedbacks together. Okay. Look at the ones that are critical to your product, right? Because I would say that I agree that it's not all feedbacks that I can implement immediately. Some
Yeah.
looks more like a future thing, right? And some looks like an immediate thing. So if it is a feedback that is going to basically correct something that is not working, fine. I think that one you need to pretty much work on it. But if it is something that is going to eventually go into a feature development, right? Then you need to basically put it into another bucket, right? And if you're able to do that, I'm sure you'll be able to know which one to attend to pretty much faster, and then which one you're supposed to build. In Prembly today, we have one saying that in as much as this feature is not live, right? Then leave it and focus on the one that is live. So what that means is customer cannot be telling us that if I click this button, right, it's going to load twice, right? And then my engineer is telling me that, oh, I'm building a feature to submit form. While what is that, right? So we need to be able to put something into the feedback that are more of corrective, right? The wrong, and the feedback that are more of product enhancement, right? Even though the two of them forms under product enhancement, but one is feature development, the other one is more like working to correct something that is wrong. So I would say that that approach will basically help you to differentiate which of the feedbacks are you supposed to work on now and which one's supposed to stage for later.
Interesting insight there. I like the fact that you mentioned about the point you mentioned around corrective maintenance, like making sure
Yeah,
that what you have out there, what you have live, is fixed and stabilized so that you can keep your existing customers. So, Bonnie, let's look beyond the categorization of features, right?
yeah,
Let's look at it from the point of the customer profile. I know that as startup, as you build, you want to be able to prioritize the right fit customers, right?
yeah.
And you want to be able to like listen to their own feedback. How do you, or what would you suggest is the best approach in terms of prioritizing those right fit customers as against the ones that you feel that they don't have long term success within the organization? Like, how do you approach that?
Okay, so I think one of the it still falls under the customer success, right? To sort of look into who are we serving, right? And who are those that we're currently serving, all right? Because again, you might be selling to, okay, so let me use Premier as an example. Our product speaks more on the compliance side of things, but we've seen that compliance officers are using it, right? And we're also seeing product managers using it. Okay, so I want to ensure that people have a very seamless onboarding. As a product manager, nothing should happen. So there's that set of feedback, right? And then compliance people are saying, guys, this thing is not meeting the compliance need, right? That we need to basically do, or that we need to comply to. So we're looking at it from a functional point of view, right, as it is, and we're also looking at it from this other set of people. At the same time, there are other users that we think we can actually sell to, right? And maybe feedback is coming from the sales team to say, oh, I met potential customer X that's saying, if you build Y feature, right, I'm going to join you. Okay, or I'm going to switch to your
Yeah.
platform. So now you have different set of people who have given you feedback, right? And you want to ensure that you build and ensure you cater for everybody. So how do you do that? I think it's going to come down to, first of all, who are your users, right? Because it's all about the users. Because sometimes your users might not even be the one paying right, for your solution as it is. So who are using this product? Who are the users? And if you're able to differentiate who the users are, who is paying, right, at the end of the day, then you'll be able to fix things accordingly. And then who are the ones that if I achieve XYZ milestone, right, they will be able to come in. If not, if you are taking everything as it is, first of all, you just keep building, right? And at the end of the day, you are just neglecting the most important part, right? And the most important element of your products because you just want to serve everybody. The time will come when people would conform into what you've built, right? As it is. And we can look at different examples of the big companies, right? Even though yeah, they grew from feedback, innovations, and everything, but you just discovered that for me now, I can't message Google and say, Google, today put your button there because that's how I feel, right?
Yeah.
I'm maybe one in a millions of people using Google kind of everything. So the way it's going to be is identify who your users are, right? Identify who is basically paying for it and identify your future customers. Be able to put them into that bucket, I think you will be able to build and filter down feedback to which one is supposed to attend to pretty much.
Yeah, great. So I like the part where you mentioned about deep categorization, right? You have to categorize your users based on their financial level or maybe their revenue level to know, which of them you think that which of them falls within the bucket of, long-term users,
Yeah.
maybe people that you think they might drop off, people that don't have that right fit customer. And if even though sometimes a lot of companies struggle to build the ideal buyer persona,
Yeah.
it's very important for you to categorize and have something that you think that grows with your product, right? As the demands and the behavior of the customer is changing. Something else I want to also ask you. From
Yeah.
my own experience, I've also led customer success team, and I know that there's always this fight within success and engineering team. Engineering is saying because you mentioned something that really caught my attention, where you said you need to be able to tell the engineers that we need to focus on what's live and what's not live.
Yeah.
What's live, and then prioritize the ones that are yet to be live. There's always this back and forth with success, customer success, and engineering in terms of what the focus should be on and how they need
Mhm.
to prioritize. What would you suggest is more like the best strategy to manage that internal relationship between product, engineering, and success?
Yeah, I think and I hope this will not come back. But the most difficult thing to manage in a company are always the engineers, right? Everybody's always fighting engineers, from product managers to QA to everybody. You just engineers, right? And I think first of all, right processes is going to help, right?
Yeah.
Um, when people know what the company value, right? I think it's going to help. So for us at Prembly, one of our core values is customer obsession, right? So it means customer first in anything, right, that we do, and we try as much as possible to ensure that feedback drives the innovation, right? As it is. So we're big on customers' feedback, and we build the CX team to ensure that on a regular basis, they touch base with our customers, right? No customer should cough and then you basically close your eyes, right, at it. And it's going to flow back to our ideology of that thing that is life is the major thing that you need to focus on right now. But again, seeing it as this is our process, right? This is what we believe in. Then there's the other part of, I'll say, the relationship that needs to come in. As a customer success person, even though you're interfacing with people outside, you're still the center, right, of everything. Everybody will still come to you. Engineers will come to you, right? QA will come to you. Salespeople will come to you at the end of the day. So yeah, more like I'll say the fine guy in the room that everybody just wants to like talk to, right? Kind of a thing. So you need to also have the personal relationship, right, with everybody. And yes, you can define what boundaries are, but at work, you are you're very approachable, right? And if we start listing all the qualities of customer success, right? Even though there are times when you will be mad at people, right? We always say you address the situation and not the person, right? Kind
Mm.
of a thing. So if you have all those kind of things in place, right, I think it's going to help customer success person dealing with anybody, not even the engineers, right, alone, but literally everybody that works within the organization to ensure customers are happy.
Great. Just to use this medium to speak to our listeners, if you're just joining us, feel free to ask any question you've heard from Niyi. Um, Putting the focus on the customer helps everyone get aligned in terms of what the priorities should be. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the message box. We will definitely get your message, and then we will try as much as possible to address them as we move on. Okay, so let's get back into the collaborative aspect of things, right? What would you say are most of the challenges that startups face when trying to implement feedback into product innovation?
Okay, so uh, a lot of a lot. And I'm just thinking of picking up like two of them. Um, I think sometimes checking the feedback without deliberating on it can be a really, really, really big challenge to people, right? And this is what it means. Customer will give you feedback, right? So customer success, it can be maybe via phone calls or via emails, right? Or via a feedback form. Okay. The customer success and this is what works for us at Prembly. Customer success will basically take that feedback and take it to the research and development team and say, guys, this is what our customer is asking of, right? So they're supposed to do a proper research on it, right? In terms of how best I'm supposed to implement this, right? What what other ways are competitors implementing this if they have it, right? So that we can be better. And if it's something that is not available on competitors' side, okay, um, do research beyond just Africa, right? And look external, okay, and then come up with innovative means in which you need to basically solve this, and then from there it can move down to engineering. Even though you might say we might waste time, right? Because timing again is very, very important. Um, there's always the aspect of the better face of of any feature. So
Yeah,
sometimes we come into a dashboard, you see something in the beta form, right? So okay, test it out. Let's hear your feedback. We know that it's not fully done, and then we basically just move. There's some feedback that yeah, I think if they bring it to my table, I can easily say, oh, this is what the customer wants, right? Just pen something down, send it to the PM, right? And then PM will basically just get it done. So first of all, one of the challenge might be if you try to take the feedback as it is pretty much without doing a sort of innovation on it, it might just be another feature, right? That you might need to now start improving and improving. And that's gonna take you a lot of time. So if you have that time and you're able to hold back the customer, right? As I've said, if it is on a feature development, then you can still buy time, right, as it is. And we always encourage customer success not to give timelines most times, right?
yeah,
Because you want to impress customers that oh, we can build anything for you. So customer asks when it's going to be ready, you say in 3 days, right? Meanwhile, for that 3 days, research team are not even done, right?
yeah,
As it is. So there's just that sometimes implementing without necessarily understanding, right? How these things are. Secondly, again, because it's feedback, and sometimes, yeah, if you're not the only one playing in that space, if you waste a lot of time, competitors can basically outrun you, right? So
yeah,
everybody is careful on the feedback you give me. I hope you're not sharing it with any other person, right?
yeah,
Kind of a thing. And I hope you're being honest, right, as it is, because also I've seen some feedbacks that if you look at it, it's just like a distraction, or this person just wants to waste your time, right? As it is. And it's just to tie back to the first one that just to implement feedbacks, right? Just like that. Yeah, feedback is feedback is good when it comes in a raw format, right? But you need to be able to like process it, right? And develop it into something that is basically usable. Now, another challenge can come in from, I would say, either the process owner or the product owner, right? As it is, where the product owner is also in a haste, and when you run a divisional structure, right, where you own a product, then the alpha and omega of that is a product owner, right, and has a way of influencing all the processes that can actually happen. And sometimes you'll find out that some of the product owners are not really technical people, right, as it is. So there's some things that technically they might not be able to understand, right? So it's still going to come down to ensure that you don't just rush to do things. I always say that don't rush to implement them, because if you rush to build it, eventually you see that there's going to be bugs somewhere, right? And if the QA doesn't haven't tested it properly, then it's another disaster, right? That is waiting. So those are, I'll say, those two are the major things I would say can be problems, right? While implementing feedbacks as it is. Maybe the third one might also be like a knowledge gap, right? In ensuring feedback. Just I've said, feedback has come. You don't even understand what this person is saying, right? As it is. But again, it's a feedback, so you need to know how to deal with it, right? And lastly, sometimes customer or we tend to forget to cycle back to customers, right, when they give feedback. I think we're also improving on that. Customers giving us feedback. We've looked into everything, especially if it comes in from survey, right? Kind of
Yeah.
thing. We're always trying to send out an email. Thank you for this. Yeah, I liked X, Y, Z, and this. I know of a particular company that actually that their feedback mechanism they is always around product development, or I'll call it feature development. So they will send, this is what we're thinking about, right? But give us your feedback, right? What do you want to see next in this one? And then you see a lot of people coming in with different ideas, right? Even though it's good, you're in the mind of your customer, but again, you just have a lot of things that people are throwing at you, so you need to learn how to filter. That's it.
Yeah. Great points there. So there's something while you were speaking, something came to my mind where you talked about, knowing what feedback is right, right? So, but there are times when your top customers, people who bring the most money, right? They
Yeah.
share feedback with you. Have you had experiences where your top customers are giving you feedback and you feel like those feedbacks can be implemented, right? And you
Hmm.
know that if you don't implement those feedback, you are most likely going to lose those customers. Maybe that feedback does not align with where you're headed. Like
Yeah.
how do you manage those if you have such experience?
So I said there's one they are currently dealing with, and it's still around customization, right? And we looked at it and like, okay, I don't think this currently fits into our roadmap. So we went back to the customer and say, yeah, we've heard you, but are you able to pay extra, right, for this kind of feature? So
Yeah,
if it is very critical to you, right, then you should be able to pay. But the foundation is going to be the product that you're giving them, the value that you're giving them,
yeah,
uh, is the best that they can get in the market, right? When customers have alternatives, then if if you're coming back to them to say, guys, come and pay for this, they will rather take that same feedback and share with another person, right? And in a scenario where a competitor knows that it's two of us that is serving this customer, you know, they will do anything and everything to ensure, right, that they get it done. But yes, there are times when feedback will be a very hard nut to crack, right?
yeah,
And you just need enough time, right? And at the same time, I'll say that's where negotiation comes in, the negotiation skill, and those are part of the things that customer success is supposed to have. You should be able to negotiate deals, right, that will be favorable, right, as it is. So even though you are our most paying client, right, um, I always come to my customer, because up to now I say talk to customers, right? And
Yeah.
whenever they're having either a feature request or something is not going well, I always say I can save you the time that you will use to look for that competitor that you used to sign SLA. Like by the time I break it down to them, the processes that you've gone through, right, to bring me on board, do you want to go through that same process, right, and that same time? So will you just give me some time, right, to come back to you if it's something that we can do? And if it's something that we cannot do, right, it's also part of the proper evaluation of feedback, right? I can come to your customer and say, oh, this doesn't fit into our roadmap now, right? But we appreciate your feedback. We've plugged it into our roadmap. We'll see how this can actually be. And if eventually you're unable to build it, okay, you should. I'll say you should also go back to your customer, because sometimes there might be capacity issue, right? And if they're not paying for it, it becomes a problem, as it is. So it's just weighing the feedback itself. If it's something that they can pay for, yeah, take advantage of it, let them pay for it, right? And then you build it. If it's something that doesn't really fit into your roadmap, again, take it into your innovation team, or if you don't have innovation team, let someone critically look at that thing, because that feedback might be pointing you to the right direction, right? But it might just be you're not seeing it. So if you take time to evaluate that feedback, right, I'm sure you'll be able to decide. The more data you have, the better it is for you to make decision.
Great. I like the part where you mentioned negotiating with the customer, because oftentimes, when feedback comes, it often requires additional resources, it takes
Yeah,
more time to build, a lot of issues around feedback, and you need to be able to see, you need to be able to help the customer see what you're seeing, right? So
correct.
being able to negotiate with the customer and say, look, this is where we at. If we need to build this, maybe it's going to be a custom plan, or maybe it's going to be like additional expense on your own
Hmm.
side. Are you at the right phase of your business to be able to accommodate such cost, to be able
Yeah,
to to use the solution? So oftentimes that usually works, and customers always like see, if depending on how you approach those scenarios, they usually like
correct.
see the points or the value in it. There are questions already coming on the chat, but before I go to
Okay.
the Q&A session, I have one more question I would need to ask you.
Yeah.
You mentioned something when you were responding. You said capacity, right? Having the right resources. Yes, it's one thing to have good feedback from your customers, prioritizing rightly, and then you have to also look at your team, your internal structure. How do you manage priorities, like in terms of feedback and the resources that you have to ensure that your product can innovate?
Okay. So I think we use the four pillars, right, of time management to also bring into features development, which is one. Is it urgent and important, right? If it's urgent and important, okay, then we have data, right, to work with. It can be urgent, but it's not important, right? And it can be important and it's not urgent. And it can neither be important nor urgent, right? So once you have all this, I'm sure you will know how to move things around. Okay. So again, it's gonna come into the two buckets that we always put our feedback, which is this feedback coming as a corrective feedback, right? Or is a feature development. So if we put it into those buckets, it's gonna help us, right? Again, anything that is live, right, and needs to be worked on for improvement will always take priority, right? Because people are already using it, and you don't want potential customers to come in and have a very terrible experience, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, there are some that are maybe feature development, but in amount of time and resources you will spend in building that is not as extensive as building a completely different module, right, on its own. So we also try to look at what is going to entails, right, to build this particular feature. So once we do that sort of analysis, right, then we're able to determine which one to go for. we try to train our customer success to be able to at least do this right early. Just look at it and say which one is customer complaining about, right? And again, number will always help you. So if you have 3 people, 4 people, 10 people saying the same thing, and then you have one person saying something else, then maybe you should look at the 10, right? And then find a way of making it available. While I would say patting the one at the back. It's not like we've ignored you, right? But it's also on the pipeline. Just relax, right? As it is. But again, on the flip side, that one person can be your major revenue contributor, right? So in this case, maybe the 10 are contributing just $1,000, and the one person is contributing $10,000. Okay, so there's another that's another conversation, right? That you just need to look at which one will bring in more money, because for everything is all about which one will bring money, but at the same time, which one will bring money must make sense that you can also get 1 or 2 other customers, right, that will be able to use that same feature that's going to benefit from that. So is that going to come in from an upselling point of view, right, or a cross-selling point of view? You just need to also weigh all those kind of options and then use that to make a decision. That's it.
Great. I think that works. That framework is something that I've written it down. It's something that I would also like, give a trial. So I think we exhausted most of the questions that we have for you, Nii. It's time for the Q&A session where we take questions from our audience. I think the first question is from Mitchell Innocent. It says, "What are the best ways to get customer feedback, acting as an entry level CX?"
Okay. So in as much as we're talking about customers' feedback, I think customer feedback is also one of the hardest thing to get, right? On the premise that everybody is busy, right? Even sometimes those that are not busy will just decide not to talk, right? So there are different ways in which you can. One can be a sort of one-on-one email, right? It can be via phone calls, right, where that is possible. Survey forms are also good ones, right? As it is, there's also you speaking to maybe someone, right, that can also help you get the feedback. Okay, because there's something around. I'll use just the way people interact. For example, customer success associates calling the chief innovation officer of a bank, right? That kind of a thing. First of all, even if you have the phone number, I'm sure you'll be thinking in your head what you want to say, right?
Yeah.
As it is, but I would say build your confidence, right, and just be able to sell at that particular time. All right. Sometimes when feedback comes in as please, we need your help, right? I think people are more willing to help, right? Than if it's coming like, oh, it's just another general feedback and you want to take 10 minutes of my time, okay, to get feedback. I also say that feedback needs to be short, right? You don't need to put in 10 things on your feedback, right? It can just be as simple as just one question, right? And just one button for them to click, or you give them options, or just a very short text as it is. By doing that, when people see your feedback, right, they will know that, yeah, your feedback is strategic, right? It's not just another form that I need to fill and nothing pretty much happens, right? So you can leverage all those 3 options, right? Or the 4 options that I've said. And if you're going with maybe the phone call, I'll just say just be confident, right, in yourself. If you need to do a bit of rehearsal, right, do a bit of rehearsal, right, and then when you call, go straight to the point and then seek help, right, rather than making it as, oh, our organization, we do this and this. It doesn't work, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
that helps, Michelle.
Yeah, yeah, Innocent. I hope that answers your question. And again, it also depends on your level and the type of role that you are currently like in. If you're in support, feedback will come from your support interactions with your customers. They ask you questions around, oh, I am unable to do this. Can you guys improve X? You can document all those in maybe a Google document or a sheet, and just pile them up from time to time, you can categorize them and then use that to drive the internal conversations with the internal teams. Mercy says, how do you handle feedback that points to larger systemic issues in the product, and what steps are taken to ensure that we can address this address what steps are taken to ensure that addressing this contributes to overall customer success?
Okay, so I think the emphasis is on larger systemic issues, right? So the magnitude of the issue will also determine how you're going to approach it, right? And just as I mentioned earlier, your feedback will always come in either addressing an issue that is already there, or uh, a feature that needs to solve another problem of this customer. But I'm guessing that what you're referring to is a very typical issue, right? That's currently at hand. I think that the first thing is, once you have that kind of feedback, first step is to reach out to that particular customer, right, and let them know that, okay, you received their feedback, right, and it's something that you're working on, okay, as a customer success individual. While at the other end, the feedback has been passed to either the product manager, right, or has been passed to the product owner, right, and then the engineers are already trying to find a way in which they can solve it. There's some systemic issues that's going to completely disrupt your service, right? Especially when you have dependency
Yeah.
on, let's say, a third party to carry out your service. So in this kind of a thing, it's I would say it's better for you to even inform your customer ahead of time, right? Um, if you notice that major failure, and there are a lot of tools that you can basically use from the engineering point. But let's assume that your product is running fine, right? But maybe there's a computational issue. In this case, let's use, if your product happens to be like an accounting solution, for example, and for one way or the other, um, you are you're debiting where you're supposed to be crediting. Okay, so that kind of issue. um, it's it's a very, I say, depending on the number of customers that you have, right? But I will assume that this kind of problem will sit with only, let's say, two customers, hopefully, right? For that, one of the things that you can do is you can sort of schedule a maintenance, right? Thing. So you can let them know that, oh, we're running a maintenance stuff, right? As it is. And once you figure out where the issue is and what are the potential solutions. So if the solution is something that when you correct, the system can flip over the credit to debit, right? In that
Yeah.
case, nobody notice anything, as it is. So you don't necessarily have to expose it, right, to them. But first thing that I mentioned is reach out to them, let them know what is happening. If you need to schedule a maintenance, please schedule a maintenance, right? And update them as things goes. If your maintenance is supposed to be for 2 days and for one reason is becoming 3 days, right? I'm sure you will know beforehand. So communicate to them, manage the whole situation. And once everything is done, yeah, you can basically let them know. And as a way to maybe compensate that disruption has happened. Sometimes people will offer some free credit, right, to customers. Sometimes you just give them something special, right? It can just be you buying a cake for them, right, and say, "Oh, we just celebrate you as our customer," right? Just a way of making them feel part of your company, right, as it is. And if you do that, I'm sure they would think like, oh, okay, at least it's not like you're being treated as an outsider. I'm part of a company, so I can always overlook things. Yeah, mercy. I hope that helps. So the combination of internal and also external that you need to do.
Messi, I hope that answers your question. Thank you, Niyi. Danjuma says, with your experience in project management, would you allow customers' input to influence or alter your product roadmap?
Mm.
Additionally, how would you persuade a product manager stakeholder of an organization to prioritize or deprioritize certain features based on customer needs. What is the best way to communicate the no feedback to the customer? Interesting.
Okay, it's a handful, so we'll take it one
Yeah.
by one. How would you allow customers' inputs to influence or alter your product roadmap? Well, so again, it's gonna be based on the type of feedback, right, that you receive. Um, Most times, all of us tend to build from our own thinking, right?
Yeah.
From our own thoughts, especially where maybe it's coming from the EMT, or the EMT has said this is what we should build, right? And maybe because the EMT has seen it in another competitor and feel like let's do it, right? In that case, you also need to ensure that this, if you are going to impute it right into your roadmap or change some things, it does want it, right? And that's where the whole aspect of research will come into play, right? There's some feedbacks that you just need to ensure that you can implement except you have proper understanding, right, of the sort of feedback. And this speaks to even say feature development, because that's what's going to affect your roadmap. But if it is something that you need to fix on the go, a form is not submitting, and you have a feedback mechanism, right, that shows you where that bug is, your product roadmap will always be altered, right?
Yeah.
That for sure, because whatever customer it's not enjoying now, right, can always be in the freezer chilling, right, until the main issue is being addressed. And if that needs to happen, right, the next question say, how do you persuade your product manager and stakeholders? So if everybody have the mindset of we are building for customers, right,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty much easier. um, it will be difficult when everybody's mindset is just build, 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 build. And after we build, we now take it to customers, right? But if it's coming from customers first, right, then people would understand, okay, yes, you might have a lot of back and forth on it, right? Because everybody will want to ask you critical questions on why they need to shift ground for you, right? But as a customer success person, you're pretty much like the intermediary between the internal and the external, right? So people must be able to trust your government and trust your judgment, right, on whatever thing that you've said. One of the good thing that I think we've done is to ensure that the customer success sort of have access to the EMT, okay, directly. And this is just because you're the person that is listening to customers, right? So we don't want to create a process where we have to go through the operations or XYZ. As it is, come and tell the EMT, right? Because there's some decisions that you will need the EMT to basically help you make, right?
Yeah.
Without influencing or altering anything, right? There will be that kind of person. So yeah, you might need to actually take it up to those guys. And if any instruction is coming from the EMT to either head of engineering or senior product manager, I'm sure the person will actually take it as it is. I hope I've been able to answer that.
Yes. One more question around how to communicate the no feedback to the customer.
No feedback to customer. What does that mean, please? I'm
Meaning,
trying to think.
I think Najima is trying to say that if you do not get feedback from internal teams, right, how do you manage the customer's expectation?
Hmm. I think it's very difficult, right? And first of all, I think it's going to even throw a question of what kind of team do you have, right? But I can perfectly understand with you, right? Because sometimes you look for engineers and you don't see them. Reality, right? And they are in code, they're always busy. Okay. Sometimes if it happens that you work remotely, your if you're using Team or Slack, your Slack message can be left hanging for almost 4 hours, right? But again, that's where I think escalation comes into
Yeah.
play. So you need to have a sort of escalation mechanism,
Yeah.
right? for us, we always say that don't don't make requests in DMs, right? Bring it onto the channel so that at least if you CC the line manager, right, or CC someone, the person can help you intervene. And you're CCing because it's not like you want someone to see that you're doing your work, right? You're CCing because you just want someone else to just be in the loop, right, of things, and hopefully the person can help you get the feedback right that you need. But if you're not getting feedback, then you need to look at the team dynamics, how you people work, right, as it is.
All right, Daniel, I hope that answers your question. I think we have a few more questions. Need, do you have some
Okay,
time? Yeah. Okay. So
I'm
yeah.
hauling today.
All right. So let's go for this one. Emmanuel, please. What's the best way to communicate the no feed? Oh, the same question. I think
Okay.
yes, you've already answered that.
Yeah.
Another one says this. Let me just a second. Um, what do you do if you're not getting any feedback at all? Ijoma, is this from internal team? Maybe you can. Yeah.
I think what we can answer it in two ways. So if you're not getting any feedback at all from internal, then it just means that they are not working on on the feedback from customers, right? As it is, and again, maybe it's going to be an HR thing, or whatever process that you have internally. The second one is if you're not even getting feedback from your customer, right? Which I think is the dangerous part. When customers are not talking to you, it's it's crazy, right? So you need to develop all the means, whether it's going to be an incentive that you want to give them to talk to you, right? It's very, very important. For us, I think we try as much as possible to get at least maybe two feedback from all our customers in a year. Okay. Because we know that even if we send out surveys, not everybody that's going to respond. Even if you call people, it's not going to be everybody that's going to respond, right? So there's always like a target that we need to meet. So if we have, let's say, 20 customers, a minimum, at least 30% of them must be able to give you feedback, right? As it is. So you need to just define what ways can you use in getting feedback. All right. So if strategy A is not working, let's say email is not working, or phone call is not working, then one of the things that you can do, right, is you can make it an in-app feedback, right, such that if your solution is type that they have to log in into the dashboard, once they log in into the dashboard, the first thing they should see can just be that one feedback that you need, and let it be the most important one. And if they don't take action, they can't proceed to the next one, right? So in this case, it's a sort of forced feedback, and out of 20 people, at least you will be able to get five genuine feedback, right? As it is. Because if you do that, people have the tendency of just clicking anything that comes to face, right? And then just let me do what I need to do. But out of that, you will see people that will genuinely give you, right, the feedback, and then you just find your way around it. I hope that helps.
Yeah. I think we'll go for the last one. Thank you, Nii. This one says, how do you balance internal team innovations and feedback with the external feedback from customers?
Okay. Yeah, it's very, very doable, right? And depending on the kind of structure that you have, for us, we try as much as possible to ensure that internally ideas are dropping. Okay, so we have what's called an idea box, and it's just a sort of Google sheet, Excel, where just go there and drop whatever is just cracking your head, right, as it is, and then we'll take it one by one, right, and pretty much see how things can be done. So for internal, I'm trying to think of a very typical example um, of such. Okay, uh, most times you will find out that your internal innovation, right, just needs external, what's the word, validation, right, as it is. And your feedback is basically asking your customers whether that's what they want to see or that's not what they want to see. Okay, because again, you're building for customers. So depending on you craft the message, all your innovation that you're thinking of is going to be used by customers, right? And the best thing is for you to release a feature today, and then you will see at least, if not 100% of your customers using, let's say 50% of the customer using it. You don't want to release a feature where nobody's using it. Then in that case, maybe it's not innovative enough, right? And you just build for yourself. But a scenario where you think this product is really a game changer, right? In this case, particular feature that's going to help everybody. I think it's still very important for you to get customers' pulse right around it, and whatever feedback that they've given you, use it to basically iterate, right, or change the direction of that feature development. Because at the end of the day, I'll say external will always supersede internal. Talk to customers, build. YC will always tell you that build what customer wants, right? As it is, even though you can argue it, the customer doesn't know what they want, but maybe I'll say still build what customer wants. There's a lot behind that statement, right? But
Yeah.
the customer is always your customer, as it is.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Niyi, for those interesting insights and feedback on how organizations and CS leaders can action and implement feedback. So I think the most interesting part of this conversation would be around I'd say four things. The first one is on customer obsession, where you talked about everyone being aligned on the goal. The goal is the customer, keeping and making them happy. Giving customer success a voice, right? You mentioned something around having direct access to the MIT, and then you talked about having an escalation mechanism. I think this particular point addresses some of the questions asked already on the chat on when you don't get the feedback, right? There should be an escalation team that would help you champion those conversations. And then the last one talks about feedback prioritization, because not all feedback are as important, as we think. So prioritizing, based on maybe the type of customer, the right fit customer, the revenue, whatever it is, like, so that it can help you like understand or narrow down what exactly you need to like focus on in terms of how you are innovating. Thank you so much, Ni, for sharing this insight. Before we wrap up, I know someone within our community asked about I think there was a question around, the best KYC platform, right? that they can use for their solution. I can't remember the company name, but
It's
so if
friendly.
anyone, yeah, so it's friendly. Yeah. So if there's any like, if for the people like CS leaders like currently listening to this session, like how do they like sign up? Like how do they learn more about Premly?
Okay, so it's pretty much simple. Just go to preamble.com, right? And you can just check around what we need. If you're comfortable sending emails, you can send it to team@preamble.com. I can give you my email for free. My inbox is still open, right? So it's Niyi@preamble.com. Niyi@preamble.com. I will definitely respond to you personally, and hopefully I'll be able to continue that conversation, but I can't promise. I have to pass you on to the next person. All right. But I'll definitely respond to you. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ni. So this is our first segment of first CEO segment. We're really, really very appreciative of you, like joining our first session. And I would say that we've learned so much in terms of the insight that you've had to share, particularly on product innovation and feedback. And we are looking forward to seeing you on the next webinar, Twitter Spaces. Like having more sessions with us. Right. If there's one last word that you have for our audience, what would that be around the topic?
Well, again, this is going to be talk to your customers, right? Can't I can't overemphasize that because I think I've seen how that has really helped Premly, right? So keep talking to customers, keep talking to customers, and keep talking to customers. Yeah, you will be the best customer success person, right? If you're able to just always get the attention of your customer, as it is. So thumbs up to everybody, and I'll say customer success is something. It's like the new oil, right, in tech that people are not paying attention to, but I don't think I don't think AI, right, can actually replace that.
Yeah.
Never. So please, if you are new into customer success, Don't give up if things are not looking super great. There are a lot of growth opportunities, right, for you as it is. So just be the best and keep learning. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ni. Yeah, the email is there. Someone has no. Let me just share the right email so that uh, yeah. So I think we're going to share it on the thread. So you just look out for it. Um, so if you're just joining us for the first time, you can always like follow CS Africa on our LinkedIn page. There's access to our community via WhatsApp, so you can join in to be part of the conversation. So thank you, Nii, for your time. I know we've exceeded the allotted time for this session. We really appreciate taking time out of your busy time to be part of what we do. We'll hope to see you on the next one. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much for having me and have a great evening.
All right, bye, everyone.
Yeah.